we're back with round 4 action. Seen a lot of great decks come out, a lot of creativity, a lot of really grindy matchups in the mid-range space here. We're getting paired up now for round 4. Anders, tell us a little bit about like what's putting up a great showing. What's our leaderboard look like right now?
Yeah, so the benchmark is Ben White's with his band deck. He has not dropped a game. He's sitting peachy at a 3-0 match record, 6-0 game record. Uh, just crushing everything with his. Oh, I forgot to put Coco in my Coco deck. Um, then hot at his heels, we have 6 players at 2-1. Red Black Eldrazi, Red Black Eldrazi, Red Black Eldrazi. Uh, then the Dragon Tempest deck and the Gruula Target deck, and also Tyratra with the green black or the Absent Grind You to Pieces deck.
So seeing a lot of
Uh,
great. It sounds like a strong showing from the red black deck and this Bant shell, featuring some of Standard's greatest hits from Ben White's, and just a lot of people kind of neck and neck right in the middle of that pack.
yeah, so it's the black base decks versus Ben White's is what it looks like right now.
Great players. I will remind you to try and make sure your matches are watchable as you build them in the event, just so that we can tune in. So it looks like we're gonna need to tune into. Um, Looks like we're gonna need to tune into. Maybe we'll look at Koroth versus Ben White's here.
All right, table one. Cora versus Ben White. If I can find it.
Ben, as we mentioned, on this very strong Coco-less Coco deck. We'll just take another peek at what he's packing here. Ben with the most diversity in morphs, trying to keep his opponent guessing with 4 Death Mist, Raptor, 4 Den Protector, and a Singleton Stratus Dancer just to play some mind games in the world of open deck lists.
Yeah, and just have that option to have a morph and keep the opponent guessing and having that diversity in the abilities.
Ben coming out the gates with a Noble Hierarch, but then needing to pump the brakes so that Treetop Village can slowly wake up and start doing its
Yeah.
dirty work here. Koroth, tell us what we can expect to see from Koroth here. Is this our
So
Atarka deck?
Chord is our Dragon Tempest deck.
Ah,
So green red, yes, with 6 Planeswalkers, 4 Nissa, 2 Chandra, 4 Birds of Paradise, 4 Thunderbreak Regent, 4 Seascan Commander, 4 Dragon Tempest, the 2-mana enchantment that gives your flying creatures haste. Um, then we're looking at 4 Dragon Fodder, 4 Harmonize, 4 Rampant Growth to get to this massive amount of 4 drops as soon as possible, and 2 Descent of the Dragons that can kill any number of creatures, and then for each creature destroyed this way, its controller generate a 4/4 red dragon creature token with flying.
uh,
And
for those
I
of
just want to point out,
for those of us who are
uh,
looking at the deck list, I just want to point out Dromoko's command coming in and allowing a Noble Hierarch to fight with the Birds of Paradise there in our match. Sorry, Anders, go
yes,
ahead.
yeah, I want to point out the same thing, and also be aware that there was a reason Ben chose not to attack with Noble Hierarch. He was expecting to need to cast Dromoka's command this turn in order to use his mana most effectively. So deciding to take a gamble that he could play an effective Dromoka's command, and putting a counter on Noble Hierarch and getting rid of Birds of Paradise is not the end of the world. I imagine Ben was anticipating having to answer a Dragon Tempest, but either way it works.
Yeah, Dromoka's command very nice against the namesake of the Dragonfall deck. Um, I would love to see a Descent of Dragons come out and one shot an opponent at some point, just for the screenshot ability of it all.
Yeah,
But these Dromoka's commands seem to have other plans.
clearly. And Morph is going to town, and like this could be anything. Could be a Stratus Dancer. Could be a Den Protector. If one Dromoka's command is a pain in the butt. What is the second one then?
Well, Harmonize, one of the better sources of card advantage in this format, but it will
Oh,
need a
and there's
negate
a
here.
negate. A main deck negate out of Ben
The
White's. Is
singleton,
there
once again,
with a
these
fun of
open deck list
a?
shenanigans.
Well, that tells me then that morph is a Den Protector for sure.
Right, not a Stratus Dancer at the very least.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I
there's
guess
still
in
a small
theory,
possibility it's a Death Mist Raptor, but I wouldn't put a lot of money on that.
I think you'd just cast that face up, wouldn't you? I don't know.
Noble Hierarch's doing a lot of work in this band deck to just make what are otherwise kind of small creatures very threatening. I mean, Morph's coming in for 4 damage, Stratus Dancer potentially 4 power creature on this board, right? So
Yeah.
even without casting a Dragon Lord Ojutai, you still have Ojutai level
Level power.
aggression.
Yeah.
Yeah. Noble Hierarchs up, representing anything from Dramoka's Command to Unmorph Den Protector to Unmorph Stratus Dancer.
To whatever they care about. I imagine we're seeing Siege Gang. Okay, that can just start machine gunning all these critters. This is what Korad wants to be able to handle these creatures.
Korath saying, that's fine. Play a bunch of random 2/2, 2/3 dorks. I will machine gun them all down. I'll play for this long game, and eventually I'll turn all my creatures into dragons, and then what are you going to do? Nice
Yeah.
Reflector Mage.
Yes.
Grand Coliseum, a fun addition to this format. Not something that, I think it did see some play actually back in the day just because the lands used to be so bad. But in this format, it's interesting because it is both a pain land and taps for colorless for your Eldrazi, but is quite good in these 3 mana decks where it's any of your pain lands.
Yes. And we see Dromcast Command was brought back. Den Protector gained another counter, fighting the Siege Gang, and suddenly there's no more machine gun ability.
And Den Protector, not easy to block if you're Korath.
And not easy to block if you're a Goblin token. So what can Kord have? We're looking at Descent of the Dragons, I think, or a Chandra. Chandra would do it here.
Mm-hmm. Chandra, one of the heavy hitters of this format, perhaps to the surprise of no one. It's been good in every format it's ever been, at least any standard format it's ever been playable in, right?
Yeah, or standard level or standard power level format, right? I'd like to point out, like, for Correct packs it up here for Set Roulette, Planeswalkers tend to be more powerful because often we hit some Planeswalkers, but we don't hit the intended answers. Like, Planeswalkers have gotten more powerful recently, but they've also printed more answers, just not usually in the set after they printed the Planeswalkers, so we're unlikely to hit the good answers to Planeswalkers.
Yeah, just a couple of sets being from the pre-Planeswalker era, and because of the way that Set Roulette randomization works, you're more likely to hit those sets than otherwise.
Yeah.
You're very likely to just not have great answers in a format to Planeswalkers.
Yeah.
Are you looking at the sideboards here?
Yeah. So there's 4 flash trees in Ben White's sideboard, and I think if there's any matchup where those come in, it is this one. The only question is, what do you cut? Patrick side possibly?
You may not need the Death Mist Raptors since all of your opponent's creatures
not.
are smaller than it anyway on its face.
Yeah, possibly.
I think Oath of Nissa is always kind of somewhat safe to trim on.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there's only 2 in the deck anyway. So yeah, 4 flash trees comes in.
Ben's a very high-level player and high-level deck builder, so I would imagine that there is some mapping that was thought out when this deck was built, and that probably has something to do with seeing things like one negate and one Stratus Dancer is, okay, what do I need my sideboard composition to look
Yeah,
like?
yeah. I want to touch upon that a bit, because yeah, Ben, what you see here is with like the one Stratus Dancer main deck, one in the sideboard, one negate main deck, two more in the sideboard. It's definitely a. I think Ben has started to say, all right, what 75 cards do I want? And then started to sort them into, okay, what do I want for game one, or what can I defend putting as my initial setup, and what goes to the sideboard. He has built his deck with that mindset where it's a